Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of the Roundabout Sports podcast. I am pretty happy Chicago Bears fan, Brian McDaniel.
And I am, there's always next year, Vikings fan, Karla Bigham.
And we
And
are
we are Wrong About
Roundabout
Sports.
Sports. Well,
For the Bears, number
the
two
Bears.
seed, Brian.
Yep. So the Bears got to 10 wins. They played the Cleveland Browns in a very, very, very cold Soldier Field. The
Mm-hmm.
Bears played with a lot of passion, um,
Mm-hmm.
and the Browns didn't look like they wanted to be there for 1 second of the whole game. So the Bears won 31-3. The run game looked good.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Caleb, you had two touchdowns, both
Mm-hmm.
DJ Moore, DeAndre Swift had two touchdowns. He looked
Mm-hmm.
great. The defense had 3 interceptions. The offense had no turnovers. Special teams looked good except for one missed field goal.
Mm-hmm.
And the after game locker room was as raucous as ever with
It's awesome.
you know, good, better, best. Never let it rest till the good gets better and the better is best. That team has bought in to what Ben Johnson is selling, and so now they got the 10 wins. They're 10-4. Pretty difficult schedule going on. They got the Packers at home, then they got the Niners, and then the Lions.
Yep.
If they can win one of those, I think that 11th win will get them into the playoffs. They beat the Packers, and maybe they win the division. They're the 2 seed right now, but the Packers and the Bears are going to go back and forth a little bit
Yeah.
between the 2nd seed and the 7th seed. The Lions lost again, so they're looking unlikely, I think, at this point
Yeah.
to probably move forward. We'll talk about it in a minute, but the Vikings look, okay-ish against
Yeah.
Cowboys. But the Bears team, I mean, let's give them credit for beating the teams that they're supposed to beat.
Mm-hmm.
And then they beat the Steelers without Rodgers, but then they beat the Eagles on the road. So they're getting some quality wins. They're a good team. They're not a great team, but they seem to be peaking right about the right time. So I don't know. Get them into the playoffs. Maybe they get a home game, maybe they don't. But I think that they're a team that a lot of teams don't want to play, but their defense
Correct.
really is banged up. It's playing out of its mind, but they're banged up.
Yeah, but they had 5 sacks, 8 tackle for losses, and as you already noted, the 3 interceptions. I
Mhm.
mean, they're playing without their starting lineup, and this bench is deep and it's destructive. And like you said, no one kind of wants to play them, but no one ever thought the Bears would be remotely in a conversation. 15 weeks ago when we started this,
Yeah.
I've said the whole time this division is the Bears to lose. And I think it's the future of this division, unless the Vikings make some big, and we'll get to that, changes. But the Lions are regressing, and the Packers, and we'll talk about it now, face some pretty big injuries
Yep.
going forward. And so, as you said, I totally agree. If they can split, you know, the series with the Packers and the Lions, I mean, I think it's going to come down to the last game of the season, which is always exciting. It always makes for good football.
Yeah.
But there were two substantial injuries that are very unfortunate for just the sport, Brian.
Yeah.
With Mahomes, who arguably is, one of the best to ever played the role, and then Miles Garrett, or Micah Parsons.
Micah
Sorry,
Parsons. Yeah.
um, uh, that he's just so dynamic, and you just hate it for the sport because he's just fun to watch. But speaking of Miles Garrett, Williams was sacked getting back to the Bears 3 times, because Garrett is, and that team is no joke. So again, I think the Bears, they're not going to be perfect, but they're definitely enough to go into the playoffs. And I think whether they're 2 or 7, I mean 6, regardless of what seed they are, I think they're in it. I think they're in it. We helped you out by taking the
Cowboys down.
the
Yeah.
Cowboys out yesterday. So I have high hopes. Maybe I'm going to be that Bears fan that is like welcome to the club. But I mean, I'm used to it because of being a Vikings fan. But
Yeah, I
um,
mean, this Bears team is relatively likable. I mean, there's not
mhm,
really something that's off-putting about them. I think as much crap as Caleb Williams takes, why? He keeps his mouth shut. He's a good team player. He doesn't turn the ball over. He's just cocky enough. I think Chicago has really embraced him.
mhm,
The only person more popular than the Pope in Chicago is Ben Johnson. At this
mhm,
point, though, I'm pretty sure that they're probably working with each other because they're both divine. Um,
right.
but yeah, I mean, here's the thing. I gave the Bears the best chance at 8-9 wins total. They're going to
Yep.
be 10, 11, maybe 12, and that's pretty exciting. And like I said, if they make a playoffs, I'm going to be happy. But watching the Bears play in Chicago Bear weather really makes me hope that their next stadium is not going to be a domed monstrosity like they're talking about. That's not Chicago. Don't do
No.
it.
Nah. But I think looking at the Packers and the Lions, and then we can maybe wrap up with the Sunday night game with the Vikings. But I think love beating the or Broncos beating the Packers. Love had actually a pretty decent game.
Yeah.
He had 276 yards. He was 40 uh attempts at passing, 24 for 40. He also had 29 rushing yards. He had a touchdown and then of course his two interceptions, but Broncos are no joke either.
That
And
deep.
so you can't blame anything on the weather. It's the Packers and the Broncos, so you can't blame it on that. And then Micah Parsons going down again is just an issue. But Love was sacked three times by the Broncos defense. So and the Packers defense, which is remarkably really, really strong, did not sack Bo Nix, the quarterback, once. And so the pressure was gone. So I think just when the heart and soul of your team is gonna be out, I think it just from an emotional perspective, I think it's going to be difficult.
Yeah, but I think Christian Watson got hurt again
Yeah.
um, as well, which is too bad. But yeah, I mean, here's the thing. I mean, the Packers are the best team in the NFC North. They've certainly played a tougher schedule than the Bears have. So I'm
Hmm.
not trying to say even if the Bears split with the Packers, even if the Bears win the division, that doesn't make them the best team. But this is why you play the games, and it's exciting and it's great that we have a division where these games all matter. And the Bears play, like I said, in the last week of the season, they play the Lions, but the Lions might not be playing for anything then.
Correct.
But I mean,
But
we
as they say, the number one rule in football is it's not who you play, it's when you play them. And
without
so,
question,
yep. So there you go. I mean, that's luck and timing, and really, like I said, I think it's the Bears' year, to, at least in our division. And then you have the Lions, who played a very tough Rams team.
yeah,
It was fairly competitive game, but Rams beat them 41-34. Holy Hannah, did Goff have a day, and that was good because it helped me beat Carr and Housley in the playoffs. So
giddy up.
anytime I can do that, that's a good thing. But he was 25 for 41. He had 338 yards, three touchdowns, and they could not get the run game going really. Gibbs, who, if you had Gibbs in your fantasy football league this year, you enjoyed some big points from him. But St. Brown and Williams, receivers both for the Lions, had 164 and 134 yards and three tutties between the two of them. So, and Stafford is no joke, over 368 yards and two touchdowns. And Puka Nakua had 181 of those yards. And so, both of those stellar quarterbacks who, were traded back,
Yeah,
a couple of years ago. So it's always a good game to watch because they always both play with a chip on their shoulder for what happened. So both seem to be thriving in their new environments. So, Puka had to get out for a second. He took a good hit. So, um, but then last night, and I don't know if you were enjoying some beverages last night, Brian, while watching the Vikings game, but we have to thank our
So
sponsor.
our sponsor, the Minnesota Licensed Beverage Association. Since 1952, the Minnesota Licensed Beverage Association has been helping licensed beverage retailers in the state of Minnesota with information resources, educational programs, and government affairs services designed to promote and protect their businesses. All their member retailers understand that with the MLBA, they are not alone.
They
So
definitely are not.
their legislative day on the Hill is going to be Monday, February 23rd. We're looking forward to that. And I'm sorry that Tony Chesick is probably a very sad Packers fan right now. So
Yeah, no, he is. He is. But so last night, Sunday night's game, we'll talk a little bit about this before we move to Monday night's game. But so Vikings have won two in a row. They beat the Cowboys last night, 34-26. Um, you know, JJ seems to be out of his head and stopped being overcoached. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say I think these last 2 weeks, this end of the season and going into the next three, I think has saved KOC's job. Don't know about Quasey's, but I think KOC is more than fine going into next year. No turnovers, and the penalties were virtually non-existent for this offense. Um, the defense was on fire, um, and against a pretty decent Cowboys
yeah,
offense. Um, McCarthy was 15 for 24, 250 yards, two touchdowns that he threw. He had an interception, but he ran one in, and that was quite funny because he did what Peyton Manning did on that. That was an awesome fake, and Peyton Manning did that in a game years ago. And so, if you can see that clip, that is hilarious. And then he did the gritty as he's running in, and kind of got talked to by KOC, who was not a fan of the gloating.
yeah,
Um, because you never know, one of those officials could not like that. But he also had 15 rushing yards. So he's consistently rushing a little bit, which will make him, I mean, not much of a threat this season, but the potential is there for him to do that. And I do think that you know, Naylor is kind of the story. Who, by the way, if you've read the paper today, he's up for a contract renewal, and I hope they get him. He's turned into such a reliable target for JJ when Justin Jefferson just he dropped a touchdown.
yeah,
Um, I mean, there's something. I think the targets he's clearly trying to get Jefferson targeted. I think he had eight, but he only had two receptions for 22 yards and a drop touchdown. So, you look at the Addison and Hawkinson and Naylor. We didn't, the rushing, I don't really think we had much of a run game yesterday. It didn't stick out in my head anyway as I was watching it. So, um, the improvement is there for the Vikings, and I think it's good that they kind of just turned McCarthy loose and got out of his head. And O line is phenomenal. They had so many like a rotating cast of characters up until the last couple of weeks, but clearly he hasn't been sacked in 2 weeks. Knock on wood. And we have the Giants
yeah.
next week, which we should be fine. But you all have quite a game against the Packers. But I
Yeah.
don't know. What were your thoughts on last night's game?
Well, I mean, I think that it shows that I think KOC got over himself and
Yeah.
isn't asking McCarthy to do more than he can do. And I think that simplifying their offense really has helped. Excuse me, really has helped McCarthy the last 2 weeks. And you got to, I mean, they did such a good job of messing with his confidence that now they do need to build that back up. And I think they've done that a little bit. It also shows just the sickness of sports Twitter because 3 weeks ago JJ McCarthy didn't belong in the league, and now it's like, oh, well, maybe he's pretty good. Yeah, that's how things go with young quarterbacks.
True.
You can't just every week can't be, well, this is what he is. If you thought that, there's lots of quarterbacks that would not have become, the good quarterbacks that they became. But yeah, I thought the Vikings looked good. I mean, they're kind of messing with their own draft picks at this point. So
Yeah.
I don't know that winning is really doing them any good, but I think it is good.
Neither is the draft.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Quincy isn't that good at the
What's
draft, so
Swayze
maybe it
going to do
doesn't
with a good
matter.
pick? Yeah, rather have them mess up the 15th pick than the fifth. Um, but yeah, so I mean, I think they need to build up their quarterback's confidence. They're doing that, but they probably need to stop winning here pretty soon. But I think that they do. I think they get a win against the Giants because they're
Yeah,
looking. They need to lose too. So
I think actually the Vikings may that last game, if nobody's playing for anything, it'll be interesting just to see how it is. And but I do think that the off season will be telling. There's some opportunity for some veteran quarterbacks that are probably looking to change locations. Burrow and Baker Mayfield is up with his extension, or he could test out. And so I think there's definitely going to be some discussions. But if that happens, then I would think that they are going to just let the draft probably fall where it may, because it's not Kwesi's strong suit anyway. But yeah, so big game for you guys next Saturday. And that's at Packers
no, it's in Chicago.
in Chicago. Oh yeah, in Chicago. So that'll be even better for you guys.
Yep.
But Saturday night game. And so that'll be at least exciting Saturday night for folks that are into this stuff. And no bigger game right now in the
Yeah.
NFC North.
Nope, that's going to be huge, and it's going to, maybe Seattle and the Rams are the the real front runners, but it's like the old bowl season. If the Big Ten won the Rose Bowl, then they feel like they won the national championship. If the Bears can win the division, they'll come away pretty happy no matter where
Right,
they kind of end up after that.
right.
But let's start talking a little bit about Monday night's game.
Ooh, we
Uh,
got the Dolphins and the Steelers.
the suddenly serviceable Miami Dolphins and the hard to figure out Pittsburgh
Steelers.
Steelers.
Yeah.
They're it's hard to, they're little Jekyll and Hyde these days, but it's gonna be a good game. I'm looking to see what kind of they get out of um, uh, Aaron Rodgers. He's playing pretty well. But I also saw this week that he put his Wisconsin mansion on the market. So evidently
Um,
now he really has cut ties with Scotty.
I'm
But
sure they will not throw him a closing party
I,
when that
I
happens, but
I think probably not. But the Dolphins are playing well. Pitt,
except in cold weather.
yeah,
Tua sucks in cold weather. I think he's like 0-5 in cold weather, and he definitely is going, like that's what I'm anxious to see, because we know Rogers doesn't suck in cold weather. So, um, but I think that both teams have had their struggles as well.
for
So,
sure, for sure. Well,
uh,
and the NFC North, I'm sorry, the AFC North. The Ravens are 7-7. They beat. They actually shut out the Bengals this weekend. So it's important that Pittsburgh keep winning, or else they're going to let the Ravens back in this. But what are you looking at props wise for tonight?
well, TJ Watt is out with a lung issue. I wanted to point that out too. But so here's the thing. Again, like I said, Tua sucks in cold weather. And he has Waddle, and he's just kind of struggled over the last month. So I'm going to take the under on 18.5 passing completions, because he hasn't thrown more than 15 completions in a month. So I just think, like, between that and the cold weather, I think Tua is gonna has a decent running back in Achan. And so I just don't expect much out of them in a cold climate. Um, and then Rodgers thrives in cold weather. I mean, it's just like a California kid. He sure knows how to play in a cold climate. He has Metcalf and now Adam Thielen. So it'll be Adam Thielen's second week after he left the Vikings to go play. Didn't get much last week. So I think they'll probably look to open up the playbook with both him and DK Metcalf. They really haven't been able to get the run game going all that much with the Steelers, which is surprising because that's kind of their forte, right? That's just kind of the franchise's shtick is a good run game. So from the bus, Jerome Bettis, down to Najee Harris when he was there. I mean, they thrived on it. Just last year or so has not been very good. So I'm taking the over on 20.5 completions for Aaron Rodgers.
Alrighty. Me?
Yeah. What do you
Okay.
got?
Okay, so for Pittsburgh, I'm looking at the running back Jalen Warren.
Mhm,
Right now, the prop is 14 and a half yards receiving for him. They're going to be dropping the ball off to him. He's got Kenneth Gainwell
mhm.
there that he's sharing the backfield with a little bit, but I think 14 and a half is not a big number. So I definitely see that Jalen Warren getting more than 14 and a half. So I'm taking the over on that.
Mhm.
And then did you do your Miami pick?
Yeah, Tua. I said under.
Yep, yep,
Yeah,
yep.
on
And then, so
18.5.
I'm also going to take the under on my Miami pick. I'm looking at Devon Achan, who is awesome. He's having a great year. My fantasy teams have definitely benefited from him. But the prop right there is 80.5. He's a little banged up. He came out of the last week's game. I think I can see Jalen Wright taking just more carries from him just to keep him fresh. So 80.5 is the prop. I'm going to take the under on that as I think he's or an injury risk, or at least that they're going to start shutting him down a little bit more every week because they're not going to the playoffs. They don't need him. They need him healthy. So those are my two props. I think it's going to be an interesting game tonight and old school AFC football.
Nice, nice. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll be a good game as well. So, I mean, the weather's supposed to be brutally cold though, like what we had over the weekend. So, good luck. Good luck.
Good, not good. Well, with that, thank you, Gabe, for producing another great show for us. And with that, I am a fan of your NFC North first place Chicago Bears, Brian McDaniel.
And there's always next year, Vikings fan, Karla Bigham. And
And
we
we
are
are
wrong
wrong
about
about
sports.
sports. Bear down.
All right.